What do you think is one of the hardest parts of parenting?
I think for me it's always second guessing yourself and always trying to think about the decisions you're making and whether they are the right ones. I think I know that I always overthink things. I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should have done this, maybe I should have set off 5 minutes earlier, maybe I should have not stuck with the plans, and I think I know I'm hard on myself, but I think a lot of mums and parents are hard on themselves as well, and especially when at this time of year when little ones are poorly. For example, today George was going to nursery. He's woke up, well, he hasn't woke up because we had a terrible night, full of cold, full of snot, moaning about a sore throat this morning. You're like, do you send him, do you not? And I think sometimes as a working mum, those decisions are taken out of your hands. You have to go to work, you have to crack on, and you either got mum guilt that you're not making the right decision, or you beat yourself up about it even if you think you have made the right decision, but you just have to go with it. I think sometimes afterwards you can sit back and think, oh, I did, and they're better for it, and other times you do have a massive bout of mum guilt.
I totally agree. I think sometimes you think, what's best for them is best for everyone, or you think actually, it's, I don't know, you make a decision because you need to do it for work and you need to get in for a meeting, but when you look back at it and you think, God, if I'd have taken that out of the situation, I would have stayed at home with them and I'd have looked after them and nurtured them, and they'd probably be feeling better, and it wouldn't have.
But I think the hardest thing is, I don't know if you've found that with the boys over the years, but sometimes you think, oh gosh, they are really poorly, and you think they better stay at home with them, and then a dose of Calpol and suddenly they're running around like lunatics, and you think, oh gosh, actually they would have been fine to go to nursery or whatever, or then on the flip side you don't send them and then they're really poorly and you think, gosh, I could have gone to work this morning, and then they would have been struggling at nursery. But they just change so quickly, don't they? As in going from fine to not fine, or bounce back a lot quicker. And
they do. Like, I've had examples where I've thought, God, school are definitely going to ring me today. There's no way I'm going to get through this whole day looking at my phone all day and thinking, I'll just make sure I'm in a place where I can go pick them up if I need to, and nothing. There's no phone call from school, and I pick them up at normal time. The teacher's not even noticed they've been any different. They felt fine all day, and I'm thinking,
you spent the whole day worrying about it.
Yeah, so you don't, you're never, for me, I don't think you're ever fully present wherever you are, because even when they're at school or at nursery and you're thinking, you're still thinking about them and worried about them and thinking, well, what if nursery call, what if school calls, and you can't sort of fully, I don't know, even now, mine are 6 and 8, and live at their dad's part of the time, I don't think I ever fully,
relax
and block them out of my mind and think, well, do you know what, it's my working day, I'm just going to work and, smash this out, because you sort of always, in the back of your mind, are thinking,
I think COVID has a lot to do with that, though. Like, in COVID was really bad for trying to second guess situations. So like, if George woke up one morning and he had like a bit of a snotty nose or a little tickly cough, I was thinking, oh gosh, if he tests positive tomorrow, like, I need to get this done at work because I won't be in, or can Craig work from home because of this, and will nursery even take him this morning? And I think at one point I kind of said to myself, I had to have a word with myself and say, just deal with what's in front of you right now, rather than trying to think about what might happen tomorrow, or if they get worse, or if they test positive, because I was just sending myself nuts thinking about all the different situations that we could happen that week, and I just had to say, deal with what's in front of you.
Totally. I think my dad used to always say to me, 99% of things that you worry about never actually happen. And I'm a big worrier, and I always think about things, and I do the same. I'm like, well, if this is going to happen, I'm going to have to do this, and I'm planning ahead for something that probably doesn't actually amount to anything. And so I'm, it's causing more stress thinking about it and planning for it, and 99% of the time doesn't happen. So it's like, but I do think as a maternal instinct that we have, we've got that, like, honing thing where we just it's on our mind still, isn't it? And I'd say probably 80% of the time we're the ones that do then have to deal with it if something does happen.
Yeah.
So
pick up the pieces.
Yeah, so I think it's it's not knowing, I think, when you've made the right decision or not, and what decision to make, and then trying to plan your whole life around it, isn't it?
I think one of the biggest learning things for me is trying to not beat myself up about it. I remember in COVID, one of my best friends was pregnant, and we had a baby shower online for her, and we all prepared a little video with a little piece of advice in, because we couldn't see her personally. And I think the one thing that I said to her was, a lot of people say as mums, go with your instinct, and you make the choices, and you make go with your gut instinct, because that's right. And I kind of said to her, you won't always make the right choices, and that's okay. And I think actually I, over the last few years, have been trying to take a bit of my own advice on that, in that you don't always make the right decisions, and sometimes the kids perk up and you think they should have gone to nursery, or you beat yourself up because you sent them and they were probably poorly, or all sorts of different scenarios. But actually I think it's learning to kind of not be so hard on yourself, and kind of just know that your intentions were right at the time, and you are trying to make the best decisions for always for the kids, but for you and your family as well.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it right, that it's okay. That will happen.
Yeah, and there's no rule book, is there? And there's no nobody teaches you how to become a parent and how to become a mother and a father, and so everyone does it differently. But also there isn't always a right decision, is there? It's
that is
you
true
can
as well.
There's no right or wrong way of doing things, and people do everything differently. And especially with your first child, it's often the first time you've ever come across a situation like that, and some things you do have to decide in a split second what to do. And sort of, I think people beat themselves up and thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. Well, of course you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
No one's trained for this. There's no guidebook for every single situation, and also we're all different people and we all deal with things differently anyway. So I think that's important.
How do you find yourself when the boys are poorly? Because I always say to myself, I'm always one of these, my first instinct is, go to the doctors and get them checked out. Craig's a little bit more, bide a bit of time and see how they are in 24 hours, whereas I'm quite let's just go and see if they're okay. And I know there's that whole, you're being an overreactive mum, or but I think, and again, saying, the mums know best, I think I'm always I don't know best, the doctors know best, especially when they're poorly. I think sometimes it's a hard one.
It's tricky, isn't it? I think when you have different people with different, so I've always tended to be the opposite. So I sort of thought, just see how it pans out a bit, see how they got on before I actually go to the doctor. But then, I was telling you earlier, I had an instance where Jackson broke his collarbone, and we were on holiday, and he kept saying, I can't get in the pool, it hurts too much. And I was like, oh, you're fine, just get in. And eventually, after 2 days of this whinging, we took him to A&E, and he'd broken his collarbone. Yeah. So for 2 days, I'd sort of pushed it to the side and thought, come on, mate, I want to enjoy. Finally, we're on holiday. So, and you don't, but in a way, he did plough on. And so you didn't, if I'd have broken my collarbone, I wouldn't have done any of the things he did. But he is quite a trooper, so you never quite know how hurt or how poorly they are.
If they're cracking on.
So, and he didn't know that's what it was either. As adults, you probably have a bit of an instinct that, well, I think I've pulled a muscle in my back, and you can tell people that, can't you? And you can decide yourself, well, actually, I think it's time to go to the doctor. Whereas for us, we're making that decision for them. And it's a bit of pressure on you to make it at the right time, isn't it? But, as parents, that's what we have to do. And
I think especially with what's in the news as well at the minute, with the strep A that's going round, I think over the years I've kind of realised that I'm more than happy to be the overactive mum at the doctor's, as in like I'd rather go and get it checked than actually wish I had, I suppose.
And I think that's
balance, isn't there?
That's the thing, isn't it? Like if you hadn't have gone to the doctor and got them, if it was something more serious, you then beat yourself up over it, and ultimately could have a really catastrophic outcome, couldn't it? So, you know, I think that one of the lessons from that is actually we pay for the NHS. We're, you know, it's not wasting their time. If you think something is wrong with your child and they're a bit out of character or something's not quite right, you should go. And actually nothing is more important than your health and your family's health. Meetings can wait, work can wait, and you know that takes priority really, doesn't it? So yeah, that's the first of our mumblings. Come back for more soon.